Soul Art Masterclass, welcome to our lesson on archetypes. The superhero, imagination, and connection with guides work, as well as the lesson on the divine or sacred feminine, are solid foundations for our deeper dive now into archetypes. You can think of archetypes a few different ways. As we learned in Claiming Your Life, you choose your beliefs. No one should foist their beliefs onto you. I will lay out some different ways to think about archetypes, and you see what resonates with you, and you decide how you want to think about them. Awareness of archetypes dates back at least to the time of Plato, who called them forms. The great Swiss psychologist Carl Jung, you probably learned in Psychology 101, taught that archetypes are universal archaic symbols and images that derive from the collective unconscious. For Jung, archetypes comprised psychological patterns derived from historical roles in life, such as the mother, child, trickster, and servant, as well as universal events or situations including initiation or death and rebirth, or the flood. Along with our individual personal unconscious, which is unique to each of us, Jung asserted there exists a second psychic system of a collective, universal, and impersonal nature that is identical in all individuals. This collective unconscious, he believed, was inherited rather than developed, and was composed mainly of archetypes. These images and motifs are understood by humans almost instinctively. So when a child is in the proximity of a maternal figure who corresponds closely enough to its archetypal template, then that child understands almost instinctively the potential role of mother. Carolyn Myss is a spiritual teacher who teaches about sacred contracts, and archetypes are fundamental to her teachings. Myss teaches that each human has a sacred contract or contracts to fulfill in an incarnation, and to help you understand and fulfill the terms of your sacred contract, you have been encoded with a set of 12, she believes, primary archetypes. 4 of these, she says, are universal archetypes related to survival: the victim, child, prostitute, and saboteur. We all have these, she says, because they are vital to our growth and functioning as adults. The other 8, she says, are drawn from a vast storehouse of 70 or so archetypes dating back to the dawn of human history. They play valuable roles that relate to our work, our relationships with individuals in society, as well as to our spirituality, finances, values, and our highest potential. She teaches a methodology to help you determine your archetypes. If her beliefs resonate with you, you can check out her books. Deepak Chopra talks about archetypes as the gods and goddesses that reside deep inside us. He says they are already within us and we can access them. Jean Houston talks a lot about human potential and the dynamic purposiveness of our lives. She uses the word entelechy. It is the entelechy of an acorn to be an oak tree. It is the entelechy of a baby to be a grown-up human being. It is the entelechy of a caterpillar to be a butterfly. And it is the entelechy of you and me to be so much more than we have any reason to believe. One strategy she employs to begin to tap into our potentials is to have an inner dialogue with an archetypal principle. For example, she might dialogue with an idea of Athena, which you could think of as just a sensibility about civilization, or as an emblematic form to explore capabilities within ourselves. Jean also talks about humans being polyphrenic. In the salon, she encouraged us to use playful polyphrenia. She says that we all have a vast crew within ourselves, like sub-personalities. We each have the potential within us to have the cook and the healer and the therapist and the mechanic and the accountant that we can call on when we have to clean the house or pay bills. And it can make life fun to call on these aspects of ourselves. She has a great comedic sense, and so each of these members of her inner crew have their own accent and personality. And those more mundane capabilities of cleaning the house and paying the bills, you could argue, are as real as our inner capabilities of displaying courage or compassion or abundance or creativity that we may cultivate by calling on our inner Athena or Sarasvati or Lakshmi or Durga or Kuan Yin. Archetypal astrologer Dr. Lawrence Hillman says the planets are archetypal beings. They are universal. Everyone has them within. Archetypes are universal patterns that we all recognize, such as the lover, the warrior, the sovereign. You find these figures everywhere you go, in art, in music, poetry, conversation, fashion, that represent these figures. Hillman says that life is a play, and we are peopled inside by these characters, and depending on the situation we find ourselves in, that archetypal energy within us will come forward. For example, when you fall in love, your inner lover steps forward. It's an automatic archetypal response. There are universal physical conditions to falling in love, butterflies in your stomach, and feeling like singing and dreaming of your lover. As above, so below. We are not separate from the sky above. The planets are within us. There is a correlation between what is in the heavens and what is in our psyche. If we read the heavens, Hillman says, we see connections to ourselves.